You're standing on a beach. You've got a handful of sand. And I'm going to tell you that in about 30 million years, or roughly 3 weeks if you've got a really good kiln, that handful of sand could become the window that you're looking through right now. That's glass. And today we're going to answer a question that has kept humanity awake since someone first accidentally melted sand. What is glass, and how does sand become transparent? Welcome to What Is, the channel where we take the everyday things you completely ignore and make you appreciate them just enough to impress people at parties. Today's topic, glass. The stuff you drink out of, the stuff you look through, the stuff your phone screen is made of, which you're currently staring at instead of making eye contact with other people. Let's dive in. 1. How it works, the science. First things first, what is glass? And here's where things start to get weird, because the scientific answer is glass is a solid, but not really. It's also a liquid, but also not really. It's what scientists call an amorphous solid, which is just a fancy way of saying we gave up trying to classify it. Here's the deal. Most solids like ice, metal, or that questionable leftover pizza in your fridge have molecules arranged in a nice orderly crystal lattice. They're organized, they're predictable, they're boring. Glass molecules, they just don't care. They're all arranged willy-nilly, like people standing in a queue at a grocery store when there's no actual line. This disorganized arrangement is why glass is transparent. The light waves pass through it, they don't get bounced around in a predictable way. They just sort of slide through. The atoms in glass don't absorb visible light in the way that other materials do. Instead, they let it pass right on through. Think of it like this. Regular solid matter is a crowded nightclub where photons can't get to the dance floor. Glass is the VIP section where light just walks straight in. Now here's where I get personally jealous. I've been trying to achieve transparency my whole life. I put on clothes and people see clothes. I put on a shirt that says I'm transparent, and people definitely see that shirt. Meanwhile, glass is out there just existing, literally just sitting there, and light is like, yeah, I'll pass right through that. Unfair. But let's talk about sand, because that's where the magic really starts. Sand is mostly made up of silicon dioxide, SiO2 for those who speak chemistry. Those are silicon atoms bonded to oxygen atoms, forming little triangular shapes. They're actually pretty stable, fairly boring molecules. But here's the key. Silicon dioxide has an extremely high melting point, like 3,100 degrees Fahrenheit high. That's hot enough to melt steel. That's hot enough to make the devil himself sweat. So how do we actually turn sand into glass? Well, we cheat. See, pure silicon dioxide is super stubborn, but add in some soda ash, also known as sodium carbonate, and you drop that melting point to something a bit more manageable, like 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. It's still obscenely hot, but now we're in the realm of industrial furnace rather than science fiction volcano. Once you heat that mixture up, the silicon and the oxygen bonds start to break apart. The soda interferes with the crystalline structure formation, and when you cool it back down fast, really fast, you get that distorted molecular arrangement we talked about. The rapid cooling is crucial. If you cool it down too slow, the molecules have time to organize into crystals, and you get ceramic. Nobody wants ceramic windows. Well, some people do, but that's for a different video. Fun fact, there's no official chemical formula for glass. Scientists have tried to write one, and they failed. Glass as a substance is essentially we'll know it when we see it. It's a bit like asking what is the recipe for a mess. You can describe the elements of it, but there's no single formula. I've never related to something more in my life. 2. Origins. Now let's talk about the origins, and this is where glass gets really interesting. Humans have been making glass for about 4,500 years. The earliest known glass objects were tiny beads found in Egypt, dating to around 3,500 BCE. These weren't transparent, they were opaque, colored, and probably accidentally created during metalwork. The ancient Egyptians were actually fantastic at glassmaking, but they kept their methods super secret. Like we'll kill you if you tell anyone's secret. This led to centuries of people thinking glass was some mystical Egyptian art form that couldn't be replicated. It could, they just wanted you to think that it couldn't. Then came the Phoenicians, who legend says discovered glass by accident when their campfires on beach sand got hot enough to melt the silica. This may or may not be true, but it's a great story, so we're keeping it. The real revolution came with the Romans. Around 100 BCE, someone in Syria invented glass blowing, and suddenly glass went from precious treasure for the elite to we can make cups for everyone. Roman glasswork was actually remarkably advanced. They made window glass, mirrors, drinking vessels, even glass fake eyes, because apparently vanity is a timeless human trait. The Romans also discovered that adding certain minerals created different colors. Add a tiny bit of gold and you get a ruby red glass. Add copper, blue-green. Add manganese, violet. They were essentially playing with chemistry before chemistry existed. I can barely play with recipe ingredients without accidentally creating something that kills plants. Meanwhile, ancient Romans, let's add some crushed up bones and see what happens. And it worked. Incredible. The Middle Ages gave us stained glass, primarily because the Catholic Church wanted to make buildings look even more like heaven, so people would donate more money. It worked beautifully. Those massive cathedral windows, not actually made of clear glass, they're loaded with metallic oxides that create colors, but the tech eventually evolved to produce clearer glass, which brings us to the modern times. Here's a fun modern fact that will make you appreciate your windows. The primary method used for making clear glass today is called the float process, invented in the 1950s by Sir Alistair Pilkington. You float molten glass on top of molten tin. The glass flattens out perfectly due to gravity and surface tension. No rolling pins required, no smoothing necessary, just physics doing its thing. This one innovation is why window glass got to be so cheap. Before the float process, making flat glass was a nightmare of grinding and polishing. Now, floating, on tin, like some beautiful metallic pool party for molecules. Alright, we're about 7 minutes in, and if you made it this far, congratulations. You know more about glass than most humans alive. Give yourself a pat on the back, or a high five. I'm behind a microphone, I can't high five without messing up the audio, but I believe in you. And if you're new here, this is the part where I remind you that there's a subscribe button with my name on it. Well, actually, it's the channel's name. Either way, subscribe. We do videos like this every day. Anyway, back to glass. 3. Types and uses. Not all glass is created equal. Turns out sand and soda and heat equals basic glass. But if you start messing with the recipe, you get some wild stuff. Let's run through some of the highlights. First up, tempered glass. This is safety glass, heat treated to be stronger than regular glass. When it breaks, it shatters into small, relatively harmless pieces, instead of massive slashing shards. Your car windows, tempered. The side and rear windows specifically. The windshield is laminated. 2 layers of glass with plastic in between them so it holds together when broken. Your phone screen is also probably tempered, which is why it survives the occasional floor encounter, but not your keys plus phone in pocket situation. That one's on you. Next, borosilicate glass. This is the fancy stuff. Glass with boron added. It's extremely heat resistant and chemically stable. If you've ever seen a science movie with weird glass tubes and beakers, that's borosilicate. It doesn't expand much when heated, so it won't crack when you pour boiling water into it. It also won't shatter when you look at it menacingly. Good glass. Pyrex cookware, that's borosilicate. Your grandmother's famous casserole dish that survived being dropped on Thanksgiving, borosilicate. Meanwhile, I can't survive being looked at too aggressively. Different glass, different vibes. Now here's where it gets insane. Fiber optics. Glass can be drawn into fibers thinner than the human hair. These fibers can transmit information as light, pulses of light shooting through glass threads at insane speeds. All the internet data flowing through the world's undersea cables, glass fibers. Every video you're watching on your phone right now probably traveled through glass at some point, and for this video, it's certain as I use a fiber connection to upload videos. The entire modern telecommunications infrastructure is just very fancy sand. Then there's Gorilla Glass, developed by Corning specifically for electronics. This stuff is chemically strengthened, extremely scratch resistant, and designed to survive the chaos of daily human life. Modern smartphones use variations of this. Your screen is essentially a thin sheet of engineered sand that can resist your keys, your coins, and your desperate attempts to remove the screen protector without bubbling. I love Gorilla Glass. It's the one type of glass I can genuinely relate to, constantly being asked to endure more than it was designed while maintaining a calm, transparent exterior. Glass fiber, also called fiberglass, is glass spun into tiny threads and woven into insulation. It traps air in millions of tiny pockets, making it one of the most effective insulation materials on the planet. Your house probably has fiberglass insulation. Every time you turn on your AC and marvel at how comfortable you are, you're thanking sand. Sand that was melted, spun into threads, and turned into fluff. Honestly, it's kinda beautiful. And let's not forget optical glass. Lenses for eyeglasses, cameras, microscopes, telescopes. This is special high-purity glass designed to bend light in a very precise way. The Hubble Space Telescope's main mirror was initially the wrong shape due to a manufacturing error. It cost millions to fix, but they were able to fit the telescope with glasses, well, more of a monocle. And it worked. That's optical glass for you. You gotta get it exactly right, or suddenly you're seeing the universe blurry. Fun fact, the average person touches glass over 400 times a day. Phone, coffee cup, window, car, computer screen, refrigerator door. You're basically in a committed relationship with sand, and you didn't even know it. I touch glass maybe 1,000 times a day, and I'm still single. Life is confusing. So let's bring this all together. Glass is essentially sand that got hot enough to forget its crystalline structure, cooled down fast enough to stay confused, and now lets light pass through it like it's got nothing to hide. It's been with us for 4,500 years. It built empires through windows and mirrors. It connects the entire world through fiber optics. It protects your phone, heats your home, and helps scientists see things on the edge of the universe. And it all starts with sand, the most abundant thing on Earth's beaches. Just sitting there looking useless, waiting for someone to get it hot enough to become something extraordinary. Next time you're looking through a window, or drinking from a glass, or staring at your phone screen because you're avoiding something else, you're looking at transformed sand. You just witnessed a 30 million year or 3-week transformation happening right in front of you. I think that's kind of beautiful. And that was how sand becomes transparent. This has been What Is, taking ordinary things and making them just interesting enough to tell your friends about. If you learned something new, hit that like button. If you learned nothing, hit that like button. I'm trying to hit algorithm milestones here. And subscribe too. It really helps the channel grow. I'll see you in the next one. Now go outside and look at some glass. You've earned it.